America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not.
I was going to say it all, but I didn't.
We're working as a team on this one.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a show where we believe it
or don't.
Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do. But today, what are we going to talk about today?
You know what? If I knew that, I would tell you. Unfortunately, I don't. I'm in the dark here, just like everyone at home right now.
Well, they saw the name when they started.
No. They don't read.
They don't read.
They just go in blind because that's how you do it, folks.
That is how you do it.
You don't do any past research. You just come in swinging.
Come in swinging like a
wrecking ball.
Like a wrecking ball.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking about a movie. You and I.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy movies?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's ones that I haven't enjoyed, but I think for the most part, I do enjoy a movie now and then.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Christian movie?
I don't really know which ones that I've seen. I think, I've seen, would Passion of the Christ be considered one?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I've seen that. I've probably seen a VeggieTales movie.
Right, yes.
Outside of that, there's not ones that I could really identify as explicitly Christian. I mean, I haven't seen Noah.
Right.
I never saw, what's some other big ones?
Mother?
10 Commandments.
Is Mother considered a Christian movie?
I hated that movie.
Yeah, so did I.
I thought it was such dog shit.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
yeah.
If is it Aronofsky?
Yeah, Darren Aronofsky.
If you're listening, Darren, I didn't like your movie.
I enjoyed other movies he made, but
not this one.
Not that one. And Noah had its hit or misses.
Right.
But but today we're going to talk about a Christian movie studio.
Making the films that people want to see.
Making the films that everybody loves
for
the Lord. We're talking Pure Flix.
Pure Flix?
Pure Flix. They actually named themselves Pure Flix before Netflix. So I guess... No, they didn't. They wouldn't have. Because they started in 2005, but it would have been a streaming service.
Right. Netflix was a mail-in service before then?
Yeah, so they probably did rip it off. So they say they didn't, but it's
Right. You said 2005?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Netflix was founded in 97.
Okay, Netflix was first.
Netflix was first. So Pure Flix, quit lying.
No, fuck yourself.
You ripped it off whether you meant to or not.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think... I think there's two things that you need to do either after this or... listen to us first. But you got to watch Pure Flix and Chill, the David A.R. White story on Netflix. Sorry, not Netflix, YouTube.
Okay.
And you need to listen to the podcast God Awful Movies because we're not going to watch and review these movies, but that's what they do. So
right. Well, maybe we'll have to do one.
Maybe we'll have to. I watched part of one today, and it was a nightmare.
Really?
But we'll get into all that. But before we can understand what Pure Flix is, we have to understand. There's a gentleman named David A.R. White. He's one of the main founders of Pure Flix. There's this meme where it's a young guy, and he looks at his friend, and he's like, "Jesus, man," and then does like a fist.
Okay.
Have you seen this?
No.
Okay, so that's David A.R. White as a teenager.
Right.
And his
so
first,
started as
maybe
a meme?
his second Christian. Yeah, he started as a meme. Well, he's like known in this meme, but he's like one of the most Christian actors. Like he's been in like so many Christian movies, and he also started Pure Flix with some other people, but he was one of the main founders.
Wow.
So David A.R. White was a son of a Mennonite pastor.
Oh, no.
Who barely ever watched movies. He said as a kid, his friend's parents took him to see Grease in the theater. And when he saw Olivia Newton-John in a tight skin clothing, he was sure he was going to go to hell.
Because of Grease?
Because of Grease. Because of the lustful thoughts.
I felt that way watching that movie, and it had nothing to do with lustful thoughts, let me tell you.
I don't know. There was the first time I saw Olivia Newton-John's Physical album, like cover, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to hell. So I get it. But when he was 18, he started going to Bible college. He was going to follow in his father's footsteps, but he couldn't get rid of this itch to go to Hollywood and try to make it as an actor.
He wanted to go to Sin Town.
He wanted to go to Sin City, and his parents were like, okay, you can go, but just make sure you honor the Lord and everything. That's David A.R. White.
Okay.
As a young man.
Sorry, I was just pulling up the picture to see. We'll post it up there so you see.
So he started doing auditions and actually got a pretty good role immediately. Do you remember the show Evening Shade?
No.
It's a Burt Reynolds sitcom.
A Burt Reynolds sitcom?
Oh, yeah. I used to watch it all the time.
So how can you work with Burt Reynolds? He's like Mr. Sex Man, wasn't he?
Yeah. He said he had no idea who Burt Reynolds was.
He posed naked for the ladies.
He did. And he was on the show for 3 years as a, not a main character. He was Burt Reynolds' son's best friend.
Right.
So, he would come in regularly and
pop in.
And then eventually Burt Reynolds fired him. I don't know why. But in the summers between doing these things, he would audition for movies. And the first one he got was a movie called Geronimo, which was like a racist movie, Christian movie about inner city tough youths or whatever who go to this Christian camp. So he had a small role in that one. Just very stereotypical. And then the next year he did the movie where he said Jesus Man, which was Second Glance. And,
Second Glance?
Yeah, which was basically It's a Wonderful Life, but he's a Christian kid. And he goes to Bible club and stuff. But he has a crush on a girl, and he realizes that no girl like that is going to want to be with a lame Christian kid. So he wishes that he could not be a believer anymore. And then he magically wakes up and he's not a Christian, and which is something you can just do.
Yeah, and then his life gets better. And
yeah, well, in the movie, he just it ruined his life, and then he woke up and he was a Christian again, and his life was back to normal and so great. And that's when he went up to his friend and said, "Hey, Jesus Man."
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't see how you could watch a film like that and be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so he's doing more and more Christian movies, but he's also auditioning for regular stuff. He was in an episode of Saved by the Bell, an episode of Melrose Place, and Coach.
Yeah.
The show Coach. Eventually, his secular career kind of washed up, but he was still getting these Christian movies.
Right.
And so he just became known as the Christian movie guy. He was in a movie with Chuck Norris called Bells of Innocence, which you got to watch the trailer for that.
He kind of has a bit of a Chuck Norris-esque look.
Yeah.
The older him anyway.
Yeah, he does.
A little bit.
But then, in 2005, he got together with a guy named Michael Scott, not from The Office, not that Michael Scott. I looked into it. That's actually a fictional character. A guy named Russell Wolfe, who has since passed away, and Randy Travis, country singer Randy Travis, and his wife Elizabeth Travis. So they all started the production company Netflix. Or sorry, not they all started. I'm going to try that again.
Wait, Randy Travis is one of the founders of it.
Pure Flix. Yeah, Randy Travis, but I don't know how involved he is. So he might have just been a financial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this one's when I look up, it says David A.R. White and Russell Wolfe.
Russell Wolfe. Yeah.
Inspired by Netflix. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So they've done. They started producing movies. Christian movies, and they were mostly straight to DVD releases.
Well, yeah, no one's going to want to go to the theater for that.
Until God's Not Dead came out.
Yeah, when I was looking up David A.R. White, it seemed like there was multiple God's Not Dead movies.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's 3 God's Not Dead movies.
Right.
But the first one, it's a trilogy. The first one came out, Christians loved it, and they had a solid viral marketing campaign where they get you to spam your friends that God's not dead. And then, which I think we've talked about on the podcast before, where they have to text everybody at the end of the movie, "God's not dead."
Right. Yeah, we have talked about that. Yeah.
So that movie, it grossed $60 million domestically, which is not a huge movie, but for a small budget Christian,
that's not bad.
So it did quite well, and it helped them to launch Pure Flix into a streaming service. So they are still a production company, but they're also a Christian movie streaming service. So they stream their own movies that they create, but they also stream other Christian movies and other. Even not necessarily all Christian movies. They'll stream some like Hallmark movies as long as they're
Well,
like...
I feel like a lot of those Hallmark and like Lifetime movies are kind of borderline.
They are.
They're on the edge.
They really are. Yeah, so they're located in Scottsdale, Arizona. Hanging out probably with our friend Mark Driscoll, who's also in Scottsdale, Arizona. Correction when I said Phoenix last time. And they made 2 sequels to God's Not Dead, and they just they kept raking in the money.
Right. So are we going to have to watch this trilogy of terror?
We could.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Is
we
there a
want.
better film to watch if we're going to watch one?
Oh, man, they're all just so bad.
Have you watched them?
I watched today. Yeah, so today I watched the movie Marriage Retreat, or not all of it. It's like, have you seen Couples Retreat?
No.
Okay, that's a bad movie.
Okay. I wouldn't want to watch this movie.
Yeah, Marriage Retreat is like the Christian version of that, but it's like even worse than the bad original movie. And I don't know how they did that, but it's barely a comedy.
Right. Was it supposed to be a comedy?
It was supposed to be like a Christian lighthearted comedy about like marriage and stuff, but it's so demeaning to women, I found, and it's so like...
Well, that's what Christians find funny.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So.
And Victoria Jackson is in it, and she's the worst.
Oh, yeah?
From SNL.
Yeah.
Yeah, she became like this right-wing, like awful person after SNL, and like, yeah. I saw her on the news once, like, just they showed a gay kiss on a TV show, and she's like, ew, gross, I'm going to throw up. And it's like, yeah,
Really?
you're a piece of shit. Yeah. So they also created a homeschooling curriculum.
Yeah.
Pure Flix did.
A movie studio created a homeschooling curriculum.
But the more I looked in, like as I looked into it, I didn't look into it deep, but it looks like just a bunch of like kids videos, which is not. I don't think the best way to educate a kid. Maybe you could advertise it as this will help with your homeschool curriculum, but I don't think you should call it a homeschool curriculum. I think that's pretty dangerous, and it's sold on the same kind of subscription service.
To be fair, as far as extremist Christians go and the education of their children, they're not exactly known for their track record of actually caring about the children's education.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, it really falls in line. Also, I was just looking up again. Victoria Jackson was in UHF.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that when I was watching. It's like, you have fallen so far.
Yeah.
White once said that 150 million people go to church once a month. So obviously there's a hunger for positive inspiration, spiritual entertainment, and it really didn't exist. So that's why he kind of...
I mean, I understand that. You're filling a niche.
Yeah.
You're looking at a market that is not being catered to, and you're trying to cater to that market. From a business standpoint, I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. MTV had this great article where it was like, am I pure yet? And it just like went through different movies, and it's like, this is what I learned. Did it make me pure? It was a pretty good response. But I thought we'd go through and just talk about some of the movies they either have produced or are just on their streaming service.
Right.
Obviously, the God's Not Dead trilogy.
Mm-hmm. So what's the premise of God's Not Dead? What is the drive for these films?
Okay, so the first one, I mean, they're ensemble, but the main story in the first one was this kid goes to college. He's a Christian kid. He's worried about what it's going to be like as a Christian kid in college. He takes a philosophy class, and the professor, played by Kevin Sorbo of Hercules fame, puts on the board, God's not dead. And he's like, if you simply understand, or God is dead. If you simply understand this concept, then we can skip this whole section or whatever. And he's like, so I want everybody to write God is dead on a piece of paper, and then we'll be good. Which is like an old internet meme thing of like, this professor did this, and this kid stood up to him or whatever. Right. So then they made a movie out of it. So this kid, his character name is Josh Wheaton. Yeah, not Joss Whedon. Josh Wheaton says, no, God is real, and I'm going to argue it. So their plot is that it's the professor and the student arguing about the existence of God. It's definitely a straw man atheist.
Yep.
As a professor, because he's like uses like the worst arguments and doesn't refute any of the Christians' awful arguments.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he gets hit by a car.
The teacher does?
The teacher gets hit by a car in the last minute,
and that
accepts
scene is
Jesus.
Just.
Yeah, and it accepts Jesus as a Lord and Savior.
No, he does not.
Yeah, and then, because at one point, the kid goes, why do you hate God? And he goes, because he took everything from me. And it's like, well, okay, so this premise is really stupid.
I mean, I gotta say, if God did take everything from you, I think that's a pretty good reason to not like God.
Yeah, it's true. But it's like, people don't not believe in God because they don't like him. They don't believe in God because they don't see any evidence for it.
Because you don't think he's real.
Yeah.
So it's not that I hate God because I think he did something to me. I don't believe that it's real.
Exactly.
Which is, like, why do you hate unicorns?
Yeah.
Like, because I never got to ride one.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you fucking talking about? So a few things I find very, very strange about this is a few of these things that you've brought up is about Christians who are worried that, oh, I'm Christian, how are other people going to treat me?
Yeah.
And rather than looking at why you're being treated that way by people, it's just like, well, how can I prove them wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting. I mean, I think you need to have a balance of like, how can I show who I am, but also you need to have a little more self-reflection here.
Yeah.
I think this is a two-way street, right?
Exactly. And yeah, there's other subplots. There's a Muslim girl who has become a Christian and is hiding it from her family, and they just portray like the father as like this angry, abusive person. There's Dean Cain's in it. He plays an atheist who
Superman himself.
His girlfriend's diagnosed with cancer, so he dumps her. And then because he's an atheist, and atheists do stuff like that. And then is it the same person? Yeah, I think it's the same person who's a reporter trying to take down the Duck Dynasty people who are in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a weird...
Wait, are the Duck Dynasty people good people in this movie?
Yeah. They're like the good people. Yeah.
They're not good people.
They're not good people. No, not at all. And then the Newsboys are also in it somehow.
The Newsboys? The
Christian rock band, the Newsboys.
Really?
And then they sing the final song at the end. Yeah.
This sounds horrible.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Love Actually, but sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've only seen Love Actually once, so I can't say whether or not I liked it or not.
Yeah, Love Actually does kind of suck. But,
so,
yeah.
But, more suck.
Yeah, exactly. Don't at me, folks. It's a very sexist movie.
Yeah. Also, if you're basing, a whole movie on... Well, maybe not basing a movie, but I mean, if you're really getting caught up about what a college philosophy professor is saying,
exactly.
then maybe your belief system should be reevaluated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then God's Not Dead 2 is about, so it's Melissa Joan Hart, Sabrina the Teenage Witch herself.
Yeah. How could she be a teenage witch and a Christian?
Exactly.
Is that not contradictory?
Because she should be burned at the stake, right?
She should, for believing in witchcraft, for practicing witchcraft, for supporting witchcraft, keeping the dream alive in young children everywhere.
Yeah.
She should be Salem witch trialed.
So Melissa Joan Hart, the witch, is a teacher in the second one.
Right.
And she says, she just mentions Jesus as like something that was mentioned in the Bible because a student asked her. And then she gets arrested for mentioning Jesus in a classroom, or she gets fired or something like that. So then there's this whole court case about whether or not she should be allowed to talk about Jesus in the classroom.
Okay, one, you are not going to be fired for saying Jesus in a classroom. No. At the worst, someone will just say something to you about it. And they say, don't just, you know what, this is the thing, don't do that.
Yeah.
In the States, guarantee you are not going to hear anything about this.
No, exactly. In the first movie and the second movie, there's a few of the same characters, but one of them is David A.R. White's character, who's the pastor, who convinces the kid in the first one to fight his teacher. And then I think in the second one, he's a jury member.
Wait, so he's a different character?
No, he's the same character, but in the jury
okay.
for this case. I think. Could be wrong with that, but he's somehow involved. And then the third movie's all about him. So the third movie, Light into Darkness, is he's a pastor at this university. It's a church that's in the university that's been there for 150 years, but the university wants to make it into a student center because they don't want to have a church on campus. So it's his fight to keep a church on campus.
Right.
And
my thing about that is that whatever town you're in, there are probably hundreds of churches.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does it matter?
Yeah. And so that's the whole fight there is. So all three of those movies are Christian persecution complex. Like,
which seems to be a big thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, no one's stopping you from saying these things. Like, no one's stopping you from celebrating Christmas. No one's stopping you from saying these. Like, do what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's when you're trying to push this stuff on other people that is the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what you're complaining about, is people supposedly pushing their things on you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, no, not really.
Not at all. Yeah. Yeah, the Christian persecution complex is so ridiculous too, because it's like, it's the number one religion in America and in Canada, and they have more like what, 100% of Congress, 100% of the Senate would call themselves Christian.
Well, I think it falls back into like a lot of white people who deny racism.
Yeah.
I think it's the same kind of thing, right? It's inconvenient for them, and they're being called on their bullshit, and they don't want to be called on their bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't want to have to face reality.
Yeah.
So rather than them addressing real issues, they make it about them.
Yeah.
And what better way to make it about you is by saying, I'm being persecuted.
Yeah.
When you're not being persecuted.
Yeah. The one thing I did read too is that for the third one, they hired a way better director than the first two, and it looks better.
The third one does?
Yeah, and apparently like the acting's better and stuff, because they had a director with an eye and stuff.
Right.
But still, that doesn't mean that the message is not, whatever.
See, this is something like, I think it's interesting, like doing film, like from a production and small time actor kind of standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw the line? Where do you say no to one of these gigs?
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're just starting out and you're trying to get in, like, and you get like a part in something, you're like, oh, this could be good. Like, do you say no? Do you stick with it?
Yeah.
Because I've definitely had a few times where I've gotten things when I'm like, I don't know if I agree with this.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I get a paycheck and credit, so I may as well do it. But I feel like if it was one of these kind of films, I don't think I could do this in good faith.
Ray Comfort, who's an asshole, he's like a street preacher and like apologist and stuff. He made a movie called Audacity, which I think is on Pure Flix as well.
Which is what we're recording on now.
Yeah, that's true. Whoa. But it's like an anti-gay movie.
Right.
All through.
Right. If it was something like that, yes, I would definitely be like, no, I'm not a part of this. I don't want to be a part of this. No, thank you. Keep me out of it.
And I know a couple of the actors apologized afterwards and donated a portion of their salary because they realized that they shouldn't have accepted the role and stuff. And
But I mean, I understand that struggle. I understand that kind of dilemma, right? Like, especially when you're starting out.
Yeah.
It can be a tricky thing to navigate. And sometimes you need the paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you're going to make something terrible that you don't agree with, then why do it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Speaking of terrible, and that I don't agree with it, in 2009, they produced a movie called Sarah's Choice. What do you think that's about?
I'm afraid to ask.
Abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah, starring my former celebrity crush, Rebecca St. James, as the main protagonist who has to decide. One reviewer said, after accurately setting up the arguments for abortion in the first half, the film shrugs off the challenge of responding to them. Sarah is presented with two possible futures, one in which she has a beautiful daughter, or one in which she dies alone. That's
because that's the dichotomy.
Yeah,
right?
That's from Megan Basham of World or something. So yeah, that's basically apparently what it is. She gets these visions of like what her future could be like with either choice, and then she has to choose not to murder her baby.
Right.
Yeah. So that's...
I mean, that's not how real life works.
No.
First of all, as I'm sure everyone listening right now understands.
Yeah.
But like, to just think that those are your two options.
Yeah.
That if you have an abortion, you'll die alone.
Yeah. Like nobody who's ever had an abortion ends up having like a great family and
yeah. Or that, later down the line they get into a stable place in a healthy relationship and then they actually do have a child.
Yeah, exactly.
These things, an abortion is not just like people trying to murder babies because they think it's fun and they want to get rid of them. There are reasons that people are doing this, whether it be unfortunate circumstances or poor life choices.
Yeah.
Do you think that all of these children should be brought into these kind of terrible situations and people should be forced into them? I don't think they should.
No. Another movie, Holy Man Undercover.
Holy Man Undercover.
This movie looks so bad.
Undercover Pope.
And somehow they got Fred Willard in it.
See, Fred Willard did a lot of just garbage.
That's true. Yeah.
So saying somehow, I mean...
No, that's true. Yeah.
That's fair.
He was in a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of his life story of growing up Mennonite and then coming to the city of Hollywood, city of LA, instead of to be an actor, it's, even though they show a lot of that world, it's to be a secret agent.
Okay.
An undercover holy man, I don't know, to convert people. Yeah. It looks really bad. He wears a fake mustache for part of it, or he plays one character who just has a fake mustache. And I think it's supposed to be a fake mustache because there's no way they were like trying to pass that off as a real mustache. I don't know what's going on. Maybe we'll watch the movie someday.
This one sounds good. I think if we're going to watch one, maybe this one's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got secret agents.
That's
it's
true.
Got fake mustaches.
Mennonites, Fred Willard.
All our favorite things.
Yeah. Another movie called What If, which was another kind of It's a Wonderful Life ripoff.
Why are all these movies what if scenarios?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like if there is one thing to try and present evidence for an argument, a what if situation is the weakest form.
Yeah.
It's a straw man argument. It's that whataboutism. Well, what about this? Well, what about this?
Yeah.
You're not actually addressing any issues here. You're just presenting a tailored narrative to fit your agenda.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Family Man with Nicolas Cage?
Maybe. Wait, what's this one about?
It's he's a businessman, successful businessman, and then he wakes up in the suburbs with a family and with his like ex-girlfriend.
No,
he's still
I
with
haven't
her.
seen
Okay,
this.
it's the same plot. Like exactly the same plot. But for some reason they just made it again, but as Christians. So he's a successful businessman, but it's like he wakes up and he's a Christian dad, and with a Christian family and stuff.
And does he find out that he loves this Christian life more than his regular one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's with Hercules as well, Kevin Sorbo, who, by the way, is a creep. Just so everybody knows.
Oh, okay.
There's been
I was not aware
allegations
of this.
about him pressuring, like when he's married and talking about all the, his wife and staying faithful and stuff, was also pressuring like a 23-year-old actress to have sex with him, and then when that didn't happen, pressured the director into adding a sex scene.
Okay, yeah, that's a real creep move.
Yeah. But one review for What If says, a mashup of It's a Wonderful Life and the story of Saul's encounter with the heavenly light of Jesus on the road to Damascus, except for in this case replace Saul with Kevin Hercules Sorbo and heavenly light of Jesus with John Ratzenberger. That's from John Beefus of Commercial Appeal. Yeah. God or the angel or whatever, played by John Ratzenberger, punches him a lot in the trailer. I don't know why, but he does.
See, okay. This is one of those things where you're always kind of disappointed to find out like how shitty actors and people that you like are.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a pretty good reminder that most of these celebrities and actors are just dumb people who play pretend for a living.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't really care what they say because they most of the times probably don't have anything of value worth saying.
Yeah.
And movies like this, I feel, are a very good reminder of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to say that they can't put on a fantastic performance. I'm not trying to negate anyone's talent or abilities, but it definitely hurts their credibility in my eyes.
Yeah. So about Marriage Retreat 2, I want to mention two things about that. So Marriage Retreat, it's like obviously like shaming couples who are thinking about divorce and stuff like that. And like, if you get married, that's for life. And God, screw you if you tear that apart because God wants that to be together.
Well, unless you're in a different denomination that allows divorce, then that's okay, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know, because David A.R. White and his wife are divorcing as we speak.
Right. Okay, so he's contradicting his own belief system that he set up earlier in a film.
Yeah, and many films are about like marriage and
But it's okay because he has a lot of money and he makes the films.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, I see.
Yeah, and also one thing I want to mention about Marriage Retreat 2 is let's retire record scratch sound effects from movies.
Do they use
5 times in the first 5 minutes?
Are you serious?
Yeah. It is so bad. Like, the timing was off so much with the record scratch too, because they used it to like flashback to how each of the couples met.
Wow, who made this movie? A failed wedding DJ?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, holy shit! It's like all we got is a record player.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so bad.
I mean, I guess if you're making Christian movies for a living, you're probably not a great director.
It's true.
Probably.
And this is pre Pure Flix streaming service, so they hadn't quite, hit the high standards of God's Not Dead.
Right.
But yeah. But one movie that did come out after God's Not Dead is a movie called Do You Believe?
Mm-hmm. Is it about Cher?
It's not actually, but
I would watch that movie.
Let me read some of the cast for you. Mira Sorvino, Lee Majors, the $6 Million Man himself.
Okay.
Alexa Penavega, she's from the Spy Kids movies. Sean Astin.
Sean Astin?
Yup. Sybil Shepherd. Those are the only... There's more, but... And Sybil Shepherd. Like, I don't know. They got a good cast together, or a known cast. I don't know if they're good. Well, Sean Astin's good. But it's basically an ensemble film about, God showing himself through these interlocking lives and like stretching coincidences to like prove his existence to this like group of people or whatever.
Right. See, that's I don't know, because that's one of those things too. Like when I'm going back to like choosing which roles to do, it's something that I might be kind of torn about doing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess like say you're playing like a horrible character in a movie type of thing, right?
Yeah.
It'd be the same kind of thing. Like it's just a movie. I'm just acting.
Yeah.
It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
So is it much different to play a lighthearted movie where, we see God sometimes?
Yeah.
Or like being on that show, God Friended Me, even.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? Like something like that,
Yeah.
I feel like it would be like, okay, whatever. It's a paycheck. I don't believe in it. But
I
I'll
love,
still do it.
no, I think it was No Illusions from Scathing Atheist said that it offended him, like God Friended Me offended him more as a podcaster than as an atheist.
Yeah, I feel I would be more offended as someone who likes sitcoms versus as being an atheist. Because like whatever, it's just so dumb. Isn't it basically just what was the show that was about God just showing up in every
Joan of Arcadia?
Is it basically just
It
Joan of
sounds like it,
Arcadia?
yeah, but on Facebook
with social media.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. One review of Do You Believe says, crash, but Jesus-y. Scoffers and doubters will get their smackdown, but even believers should be skeptical at how ridiculous this round robin plays out. And that's from Marianne Johansson.
See, what I don't get, do Christian filmmakers just have this desire to make bad movies?
I think they have a desire to make good movies, but they don't always have the skills, or they think you just throw money at equipment and you'll figure it out.
Right.
Or I don't know, maybe there's something, I don't know. It's hard to say, because I think there has to be some Christian people who are great directors, right. Or like,
well, this goes back to
Darren Aronofsky,
Mother, right? That was essentially a Christian.
It seemed like it, yeah.
Movie. It had a lot of very heavy-handed, ham-fisted, ideas about these things.
Yeah,
and even with talent and money, I think it failed miserably.
Yeah. Because I don't know. You don't want to get preached at when you're at a movie too. Like,
that was the thing I hated the most. It was so like preachy and just this is what it is. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Do you get it yet?
Like the subtlety of Natural Born Killers.
See, that one I don't mind as much. I remember liking that film growing up, but the fact was that movie was. I found that movie very funny because of how over the top it was.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I saw it later and it just felt like they were slapping you with like, see, it's the media. The media does it.
Yeah, and it totally is. It totally is. I agree with you. I do think it is a ridiculous film, but I also found it very funny.
Yeah, no, it is funny. Okay, guess what this movie's about? I'm going to give you the name. Allison's Choice.
Allison's choice. Why are these all choices? Is this another abortion film?
It's the same idea. Different actors, kind of different plot, but
You know what? It's probably like when like different animation studios come out with, or different studios come out with the same kind of movie at the same time, right? Like Armageddon and Deep Impact. Or
but this is the
Bugs
same
Life and
studio
Ants,
6 years apart.
doing the same movie with the different name. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to write. So they also do sitcoms and game shows and stuff on Pure Flix now. But I don't really. Yeah, but one is called the American Bible Challenge, hosted by, drumroll please, Jeff Foxworthy.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he does have experience hosting game shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
It's probably just like a Bible quiz show would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be smarter than the Bible. Will you?
You might be a biblical character. I'm Not Ashamed came out in 2016.
Oh no.
You remember Columbine?
Yeah.
There's a movie about Columbine, but it's
What?
so after Columbine, this like story came out that they were going around telling people, like asking people if they're Christians, and if they were a Christian, they would shoot them, which has been mostly debunked.
Right.
And the story about one of the girls who was shot was like, "No, I'm not ashamed. I love Jesus," or whatever, and that became like a big story. And then they shot her, so they made a movie about her, and it's. Yeah, apparently it really misses the mark, and
That's really gross.
Yeah.
And my thing too is like, why? That's not showing that you're proud of Jesus. Is that in a life and death situation, rather than just being like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You have to stand up and say, I believe in Jesus and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Like for no other reason other than to what? Just posture.
Yeah.
And then possibly be killed.
In youth groups, they would just drill stuff like this into our heads about like martyrs and having to stand for your faith, and like it was.
That's so gross.
It is so gross.
It's disgusting. Like why would you go out of your way to try and make children feel like this is more important than
survival,
than their lives?
Yeah. The Case for Christ was another one that came out in 2017.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the book, The Case for Christ?
No, I'm not.
Okay. My guy by
Fortunately, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't run in these circles often. Anything I hear about here.
Yeah.
And that's enough for me, to be honest.
You've never been handed The Case for Christ on a subway?
No, I have not.
Okay. It's basically a terrible apologetics book. It is
Right.
like just really stupid arguments. We had to read it in Bible college. It's about this guy who's a reporter, and it's like his memoirs about how he looked around for evidence, but it's all like straw man, and it's all like,
Well, I mean, most memoirs are going to be.
Yeah.
I don't really take most memoirs seriously.
yeah, it's like, well, one of the things is like, okay, well, 500 people witnessed Christ after his resurrection, so why would 500 people lie about that? And it's like, no, a book says 500 people
Right.
saw it.
This was also 2,000 years ago, where there are no first-hand accounts, no first-hand stories, nothing, no sources.
And it's like, another one is, well, the apostles died for their faith, and if they knew it was a lie, they wouldn't have died for it. It's like, again, we have stories of people dying.
That's like saying, like, there were hundreds of people who died at the Battle of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was a book
Yeah.
that somebody made up.
Disgusting one that they distributed.
Also, I just want to say I feel bad for bringing up Harry Potter, because we know what a piece of shit J.K. Rowling is.
I know,
right
but
now.
it's so part of the culture.
I know,
like,
it's really sad, because I did grow up with it, and I do have a soft spot for those novels, but knowing about how terrible she is, and how she just keeps doubling down on it is getting more and more awful, and it just shows what an out-of-touch rich white lady she is.
Yeah, it's upsetting.
Right.
Death of a Nation, though, was a movie by a guy named Dinesh D'Souza, who's a terrible apologetic person, and he's like a political pundit.
The name does sound familiar.
Yeah, he was, maybe because he was pardoned by Trump.
Okay.
And then made a pro-Trump documentary.
Great. Is that what Death of a Nation is about?
It basically compares, he says that Trump is the new Lincoln and the Democrats are Hitler.
Do you really want to make a movie called Death of a Nation? Wasn't Birth of a Nation
the most racist movie?
The Ku Klux Klan?
Yeah.
Do you really want to be making a movie that's so closely tied to that?
Yeah, and like a lot of people called out Pure Flix for hosting this, because it's like, aren't you a Christian thing, not a political thing? And they're like, well, a lot of our base are
I mean,
right wing.
To be fair, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, especially in the States, politics is very religious based.
Yeah.
And a lot of the religious right is what's driving a lot of it. So I get that. I'm not happy about it, but I get why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so they've kind of distanced themselves and like they didn't produce it. It's just, they're releasing it and it's like their base wants it, so we're going to give it to them. But it's still, and it's disgusting. Finally, the final movie I would like to talk about is a movie called Unplanned. What do you think Unplanned's about?
I know what this is about. It's not about an abortion, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's about an abortion.
It's about Abby Johnson.
It's about someone having a baby, premarital sex, and then they have to decide what they want to do.
Not really, but sort of. It's an anti-abortion movie about Abby Johnson, who's a very outspoken anti-abortion person who used to be the director of a Planned Parenthood clinic.
Okay.
So her story is that she saw an abortion with an ultrasound, realized how horrific it was, and then walked across the street and joined. Yeah. So in the movie...
What?
Yeah.
So this is a person who worked at a Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, and then quit.
In what capacity?
She was the director of the clinic.
Okay, you do not become a director of Planned Parenthood and not know what is involved in an abortion.
Yeah, exactly.
That does not happen.
Yeah.
If it does, something is fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And you didn't believe in abortions to begin with.
Yeah. Well, people involved, obviously, they say that this incident didn't happen.
So this is based on a true story?
Based on a true story,
supposedly?
Yeah. So it's based on her book that she wrote about her experience. People around say, well, obviously it didn't happen. Definitely didn't happen like in the movie, because in the movie... They were like basically like trying to hook the baby, and he was like moving, like the fetus was like moving away and scared or whatever. It's like, no, that didn't happen. And while like the mom is crying, the doctor like is like jokingly like, oh, what does he say? Something stupid like, we're going fishing or something like like some offhand comment, and she gets disgusted and leaves. A person close to her said that she was just really financially stuck, and a person from the anti-abortion organization offered her money to switch sides because it would be a good narrative to have somebody who quit the Planned Parenthood and how much money she would make if she went.
Morally bankrupt do you have to be?
Yeah.
And a story like that, all that does is it totally undermines whatever narrative you're trying to put out there. But, the people reading this don't see that part.
Yeah.
They don't care about that
Yeah.
because it supports their narrative.
Yeah. There was this fake outrage, too, in Canada when they released it in a few theaters, but they didn't release it to critics first. Now Magazine has a good article about it, how they released it to right-wing politicians first. And so Andrew Scheer sees it.
Yeah.
And just creates this outrage that not enough movie theaters in Canada are playing this movie. So, and it's not like it was like this evil, we're going to stomp this out kind of thing. It's like, it's a small independent movie. It's only going to play in a few.
Yeah.
So people were outraged and they like fought for Cineplex and stuff to get it in more theaters, and Cineplex added it to a couple more theaters, and they saw it as this big moral victory that, we got this movie into theaters and stuff. But, and it's, I don't know. It's just...
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. And of course there was outrage too on the other side that Cineplex would show such an awful movie.
Yeah.
Especially, in the climate right now with like how much a fight there is to keep abortion accessible.
Well, yeah. Well, the whole thing that people are worried about in the States now is like, is there going to be another conservative Supreme Court justice who's going to just overturn Roe v. Wade?
Yeah.
Like things like that, right? It's
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's awful. And so, this movie, actually, another issue around it was Pure Flix was really mad that it got an R rating. And it's like, well, no, you showed blood in every scene, and you showed, like, you just made every abortion look so graphic and disgusting. Yeah. And another thing they made up, too, for the movie was that she had to sell, or she made it up for her book, but basically that she had to sell abortions, and they had quotas of how many people they had to convince to get abortions when they came in.
What?
It's like, that's not what Planned Parenthood does.
What?
They're like, there's resources. Abortions are one resource, but there's...
We've talked about this before. people know, and the studies have shown and the research has shown, is that access to abortion does not equal more abortions. If anything, it equals less abortions.
Yeah.
It equals education, it equals contraception, and it equals a decline in abortions. Also, it also increases people surviving abortions. It causes less backroom and illegal abortions from happening. So not only is it safer for the people going in for them, it's better all around.
Yeah.
But, you know, these people in this kind of moral, I don't know, would you call them the moral majority? Whatever the hell you want to call them, who think that they're morally superior, have their heads so far in the sand and so far up their own asses that it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And, So Pure Flix is supposed to be pure, family-friendly options.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, they're political charged, just kind of not appropriate or not like helpful in any way. Just like, I don't know. It's it just seems like, especially with a movie like this, there's nothing pure about it. There's nothing good about it. It's like you're hurting people, and it's graphic, and even in so the YouTube video Pure Flix and Chill, they had it's made up of interviews with David A.R. White over top of video clips from his movies. And at one point he's like, you watch a Hollywood movie and it's all guns and violence, and then they just show this like long thing of like all the shooting scenes from Pure Flix movies.
Right. What about all the movies that aren't guns and violence?
Yeah. And it's like, maybe you just choose what movies you want to watch.
Yeah. Like, you know, I think a movie where it's dealing with real life issues and then, you know, people come together and solve a problem or come to a good resolution. Yeah. I feel that's a lot more pure than doing a movie about, look how bad abortions are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Like, you can do movies where, you know, where it's talking about these kind of things without having to be, you know, just assholes.
Yeah.
It, right?
And you can have positive messages in movies without like preaching something down your throat, or you can have
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, for some reason, the only movie that I'm really coming to my head right now is like a movie like Easy A, right?
Yeah.
Like, that movie was so good about showing acceptance and like, you know, families who actually care about their children and their well-being and everything like that, while also addressing a lot of other issues, you know, bullying and teen sex and all kinds of stuff, right? And it can be done.
It can be done.
And it doesn't have to be preachy, and it doesn't have to be gross.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't make bad movies.
Just make a good movie.
And if you want to make a bad movie, just don't show it to people.
And if you're going to make a bad movie, make it so bad that it's at least funny.
That's true. Yeah, make it The Room or something. Yeah.
Or just have a little self-awareness.
Yeah.
Don't take it so seriously.
Yeah. Ugh. And don't put Victoria Jackson in it.
Yeah.
Or Kevin Sorbo. I guess, should we move on to Christian rock lyric?
Yeah, let's move on to Christian rock lyric.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
Hey, guess what this song's called?
Someone's Choice.
It's called Unplanned.
Okay, I was close.
You were.
I was close.
It is it was written for this movie.
Is this the abortion episode?
Yeah, I guess
unofficially.
So. Unofficially, I guess it is. Yeah,
the abortion movie episode.
Abortion movie episode of whatever we're called.
Abortions for some, miniature American flags for others.
This is a guy by a guy named Matthew West. I'm looking at a masterpiece. I'm staring at a work of art. I'm listening to a symphony in every beat of your tiny heart. You used to be a choice to make, but now I think you've chosen me because I can see your fingers, 10 toes, 2 eyes, and I know this is meant to be. Oh, I don't believe in accidents, miracles. They just don't happen by chance. As long as my God holds the world in his hands, I know there's no such thing as unplanned.
Okay. So this is comparing an unborn child to a symphony, a masterpiece, yada, 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 yada. How many times over the course of history have Christian extremists destroyed literature, music, and art?
Yeah.
Real masterpieces.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't align with whatever belief system they have.
Yeah.
How many times throughout history have people been murdered because of these things?
Yeah.
Have been executed and persecuted by these Christian people throughout history?
Yeah.
Countless times.
And like when I was in high school, one of my youth leaders convinced me to break my In the Key of Springfield CD.
Right.
And I haven't been able to find a copy since.
There you go. Destroying art, destroying music, destroying opposing viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
but they want to get on their high horse and say abortion's bad, okay?
Yeah. Which something that the Protestant Church didn't buy until the 70s when Jerry Falwell had to convince them. So I don't know. But
I don't know. Well, if it was, like, there's no reason that anyone would need an abortion, right?
No.
According to some of these people,
No.
right? Like, even if it was, whatever.
because all these people are willing to adopt these kids.
Yeah, well, once the kid's born, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They don't matter anymore. So
Yeah. Well, it's like when you go into and we've talked about this before, but when you go into one of those pregnancy care centers, they provide stuff for the first year, maybe, like clothing and stuff for the first few months even, and then you're on your own. And that's just to convince you that, hey, it's going to be fine. But then once you're at a year, screw you, you're on your own.
But it's not even just that. Like, so much of it is trying to be legislation to stop these kids from being terminated.
Yeah.
But then again, there's no social net to help these kids. They don't care after that. That's the thing that I find so fucking morally repugnant is that you act like you care so much about these lives.
Yeah.
But as soon as they are actual lives, they don't give a shit, right? Welfare is bad. Social assistance is bad. Socialized medical care is bad. All of these things are bad, 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 bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you really care about people? Do you really care about, preserving life? Because it doesn't sound like you do.
No, it really doesn't.
It sounds like you're finding an issue that, has such a strong image of a dead baby.
Yeah.
That supports you.
Yeah.
Rather than, like, because, as soon as a child is, like, older, people don't give a shit.
No.
People don't care about that.
No.
It doesn't have as strong of a message as something like, oh, they're killing babies.
Yeah, exactly.
Which they're not. That's not what it is.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the kids in cages at the border.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. They don't care.
No, but it's fine because they're immigrants and they're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, their parents shouldn't have brought them here or whatever.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that they're maybe coming from a terrible situation and they're trying to better their lives and those are their children.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, no. But they're immigrants, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Most of them have claimed refugee status, so they are legally here.
Yeah.
And
Even
if they weren't.
If they aren't here through the proper means, why is it okay to throw them in cages?
Exactly.
Well, how do you wrap your head around that?
Yeah.
Even if I was against immigration and I thought, like, well, they shouldn't be coming here in the first place, the last thing I'm going to do is justify throwing people in cages for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. Children, yeah.
Children dying in cages, separated from their parents.
Yeah. The
like,
abuse,
how do you look at the world and think this is okay?
And, it's... Ugh.
You know how you think it's okay? It's by being part of a death cult where you can't wait to go to this afterlife.
Yeah.
Where everything will be perfect and nothing that happens here really matters.
That's true.
And I'm not happy about that.
No.
I'm not happy about that at all.
I want to be part of a life cult.
Yeah.
Or maybe just no cult. Just enjoy life.
No cult. No,
Let's get rid of the cults.
Just fucking be nice to people.
Yeah.
Leave people the fuck alone. And don't throw them in cages.
Yeah. That's a t-shirt that we should make. Just go to our website.
Keep the kids out of cages.
All the details. But yeah, folks, that's our review of or our discussion about Pure Flix, and it's a right-wing propaganda machine.
Yeah.
I guess is what we're trying to say, and
Right.
And that's not pure. So
Right. Well. Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good day, everybody. Subscribe, review us, all that stuff.
Love you. Bye.
Love you,
Work, Sky Moon.